Of January, and as the Constitution in Article 58 depicts that on this day the President of the Republic of Liberia shall report to the legislature on the state of the nation. And so on this sunny day in Liberia, President George Weah, only 1 week in office, addresses the legislature today to tell the legislature the state of the economy. How is the economy now? What is the state? What are his legislative agenda? So Liberians across the country are quite enthusiastic after a historic transition and his inauguration. They're up and enthusiastic again to listen to what he has to say today. Lots of people have come from various backgrounds and have assembled here at the Capitol in Monrovia to witness and be part of yet another historic event on this capital in the nation's capital. And so right after the president's message, we will certainly talk to some people about what he's got to say. Lots of people have said that the president in his inaugural address had mentioned several issues on corruption, on empowerment of the business people, on youth development, but was not a little bit more specific. So we expect His Excellency George Weah to be a little bit more specific in his deliberations today. I'm Arthur Douglas. Please keep watching.
Hello and a pleasant welcome. This is Liberia National Television. Of course, we are here at the joint chambers of the National Legislature, where His Excellency President George Weah is expected to deliver the State of the Nation address. And of course, I'm your commentator, Maxwell Johnson. Behind camera, we have Zach Greaves. We also have Joseph Smythe and an array of technicians who have come to make this broadcast a success. And from where we stand, dignitaries or invitees have begun coming into the hall. They are taking their respective seats reserved for them. Any moment from now, we'll be seeing the ushering in of members of the 54th legislature. And we will also be seeing members of the diplomatic corps and other important guests who have come to grace this occasion. Members of the diplomatic corps representing their various countries here. We have the American ambassador, ambassador of France, ambassador of Ghana, Nigeria, ambassador of Egypt. We have the AU ambassador, ECOWAS as well, and even the world body, the United Nations. All right. Everyone, stand up. And the AFL Orchestra is rendering selection. The Chief Justice Francis Corpo and Associate Justices are all attending this program. Chief Justice Francis Corpo, Justice Philip Banks, Justice Siayina Yo, Justice James Eto, how will call it, and of course Justice Kabina Janet. They just walk in. They are now taking their respective seats. So this program has actually started. This is Liberia National Television. Okay, and so the audience has been seated once more. The Chief of Protocol of the Republic of Liberia is Jarvis Witherspoon, and he's on top of this one. The justices have taken their seat, headed by the Chief Justice, followed by Justice Philip Banks, and Justice James Eto Wolokoli. And then we have Justice Kabina Jane. And of course, we have Justice Siayina Yo. These are the justices that make up the Supreme Court of Liberia.
My distinguished pleasure to announce the arrival of the former President of the Republic of Liberia, Madam Ethel Johnson Sirleaf. Let us all stand.
Sergeant at Arms.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker and members of the Honorable House of Representatives, the Vice President and members of the Liberian Senate, honorable ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to announce to you the opening of the second joint session of the 54th Legislature for the purpose of His Excellency Joy Mani Weah to deliver his first annual message to the 54th Legislature of the Republic of Liberia. And now, therefore, this joint legislative session is hereby called to order, and it is hereby so ordered.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chief Clerk. For the purpose of today's session, for the annual message to be given by His Excellency George Weah by this joint legislative session, we will ask for a motion.
Consistent with Article 33 of the Constitution of Liberia, that the legislature in joint session, in line with Article 58 of the Constitution, receive the President of the Republic of Liberia for this State of Nation address.
Can we have a second from the Senate? Honorable Matthew J. With the motion, being seconded by the Honorable from River G,
Are you all ready to vote?
may I ask whether you are ready to vote?
Are you ready to vote?
Are you ready? Yes. All those in favor make it known by saying yea. Yes. Against? Honorable ladies and gentlemen, having got the motion made and been seconded, we'll call the Honorable Chief Clerk to announce whether there is a quorum. Is there a quorum? Okay, no problem. So is that
Dr. Crawford Chambers, Speaker and Presiding Officer of this joint legislative section, Her Excellency Madam Joa Howard Taylor, Vice President of the Republic of Liberia and President of the Liberian Senate, I'm honored to announce that there is a quorum for the transaction of this joint legislative business for the sole purpose of receiving the President's first annual message. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you so much. Honorable ladies and gentlemen of the 54th Legislature, a unanimous vote to resolve into the joint section for the sole purpose, as stated earlier, of is resolved. The 54th Legislature is hereby resolved into said joint section to receive the President of Liberia, His Excellency George Weah, the annual message for the year 2018, and it is hereby so ordered.
Honorable ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of Liberia,
Madam Vice President, Honorable Speaker, Mr. Pro Tempore, Honorable members of the legislature, Your Honor, the Chief Justice, Associate Justices of the Supreme Court, and members of the Judiciary, Dean and members of the Cabinet and other government officials, adoring Your Excellency, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Your Excellency, the Special Representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations in Liberia, the officers and staff of the United Nations Mission in Liberia, Mr. Chief of Staff, members, women, and men of the Armed Forces of Liberia, former officials of government, traditional leaders, chiefs and elders, political and business leaders, religious leaders, officers and members of the National Bar Association, labor and trade union, civil society organizations, members of the press, special guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, fellow Liberians. What a privilege and honor to be here today. And what an honor for Her Excellency, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, to be here to grace this occasion. Madam Sirleaf, I say welcome. Your presence here today shows how far we have come as people. Honorable ladies and gentlemen of the 54th Legislature, I stand before you today under the mandate of Article 58 of the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia, which places a duty on the President of the Republic on the 4th working Monday of January every year to present the administration and legislative program for the ensuing sections of the Honorable Legislature and to report to the Liberian people through you, their duly elected representatives in joint assembly on the states of the Republic. Before I commence to do so, I would first of all like to thank the Almighty God for His bountiful goodness and abundant mercies that He has bestowed upon us as a nation and as a people. With His steady hands, He has guided our ship of state through stormy seas and contrary winds, and has brought us safely to a calm and peaceful shore where we can find refuge and strength. Honorable ladies and gentlemen of the 54th Legislature, exactly 1 week ago, we witnessed and participated in a historic and peaceful transition from the incumbent administration to a newly elected government, the first such event in our history for more than 70 years. Liberians have received commendations and congratulations from all over the world for the civility and maturity demonstrated throughout this long process, which eventually ended in the passing of the baton from one generation of leadership to a younger generation. And so it came to pass, as a result of this process, that I, George Weah, your humble servant, took the oath of the office and was sworn in as the 24th President of the Republic of Liberia, in the presence of most, if not all of you. I sworn that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of Liberia, And in this process, I ask the Almighty God to help me to do so to the best of my abilities. And in this is exactly what I intend to do. The Liberian Constitution, which is the supreme law of the Republic, and with which I am intimately familiar, shall be my principal guide for leadership and governance throughout my tenure as president. Without pretending to be a constitutional scholar, expert, or lawyer, I found direction as well as inspiration from studying it. I will humbly advise all of you, honorable ladies and gentlemen, and indeed all Liberians, to study the Constitution well, for I found it to be the most useful, practical guide for those who govern and for those who are governed. My assumption is that not everyone is familiar with the Constitution, as they ought to be. I would now beg your indulgence to allow me to make frequent references to it today as I address you. In some instances, I will read extensively from it. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, what is expected of us who have been elected by our people to govern them? What is really expected of those of us who have been entrusted with the responsibility to lead them? The answer is to be found in chapter 2 of our Constitution, from which I shall now read selected article extensively and verbatim. And I quote, Chapter 2, General Principles of National Policy. Article 4, the principles contained in this chapter shall be fundamental in the governance of the Republic and shall serve as guidelines in the formulations of legislative, executive, administrative directives, policy making, and their execution. Article 5. The Republic shall aim at strengthening the national integrations and unity of the people of Liberia, regardless of ethnic, regional, and other differences, into one body politics. And the legislature shall enact laws promoting national unification and the encouragement of all citizens to participate in government. B, preserve, protect, and promote positive Liberian culture, ensuring that traditional values which are compatible with public policies and national progress are adapted and developed as an integral part of the growing needs of the Liberian society. C, take steps by appropriate legislations and executive order to eliminate sectionalisms and tribalisms and such abuses of power as the misuse of government resources, nepotism, and all other corrupt practices. Article 6. The Republic shall, because of the vital role assigned to the individual citizen under this Constitution for the social, economic, and political well-being of Liberia, provide equal access to educational opportunities and facilities for all citizens to the extent of available resources. Emphasis shall be placed on the mass education of the Liberian people, and the elimination of illiteracy. Article 7. The Republic, consistent with the principles of individual freedom and social justice enshrined in this Constitution, manage the national economy and the natural resources of Liberia in such manner as shall ensure the maximum feasible participation of Liberian citizens under conditions of equality, so as to advance the general welfare of the Liberian people and the economic development of Liberia. Article 8. The Republic shall direct its policy towards ensuring for all citizens, without discrimination, opportunities for employment and livelihood under just and humane conditions, and towards promoting safety, health, and welfare facility in employment. 9. The Republic shall encourage the promotion of bilateral and regional cooperation between and among Liberia and other nations, and the formations and maintenance of regional organizations aimed at the cultural, social, political, and economic development of the people of Africa and other nations of the world. 10. The Republic shall ensure the publication and dissemination of this Constitution throughout the Republic and the teaching of its principles and provisions in all institutions of learning in Liberia. Unquote. Honorable ladies and gentlemen of the 54th Legislature, this is the backdrop against which the legislative program of my administration shall be proposed for your kind consideration. And you will soon discover upon closer examination that Chapter 2 of our Constitution forms the essential framework for the formulation of the political manifesto and platform upon which I and many of you ran and won during the just ended elections. It is customary that the State of Nation address gives an account of the President's stewardship of the government for the previous year, and then set out its legislative agenda for the ensuing section. Additionally, the President is expected to present the overall economic condition of the nation, which should cover both expenditure and revenue. In this regard, as I have been President for only 1 week, in this regard, as I have been President for only 1 week, I cannot be expected to report with authority on the expenditure and income of the government of Liberia for the previous year. Thank you. Which was a minister honor my predecessor. Of course, during the transition process, certain information has been provided to us on both income and expenditure, containing balances which we now inherit to carry forward. Total revenue collected in calendar year 2017 amounted to $489.1 million US, which is a 13% decline over revenue collected in 2016, which was $565.1 million. I cannot vouch for the accuracy or completeness of this information. Thank you. In the absence of verification by a full and proper audit conducted by a competent authority, this highly unusual situation is caused by the delays in the recent electoral process, which had the effect of reducing the transition period from 3 months to 3 weeks. Nevertheless, and in spite of the above described situation, it is possible to inform you that the state of the economy that my administration has inherited leaves a lot to be done and to be desired. This is plain for all to see, for we are all affected by it. Our economy is broken. Our government is broke. Our currency is in free fall. Inflation is rising. Unemployment is at an unprecedented high, and our foreign reserves are at an all-time low. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, this is the challenge that we face. In order to overcome these constraints and reverse this trend, we, the executive, will have to work in close collaboration with you. The legislature, a separate but coordinate branches of government to find solutions to these obstacles to our progress and development. During the course of this section, we shall propose and introduce priorities legislation for your consideration and approval that will be based on the 4 pillars of our platform, namely: 1, power to the people. We shall focus on reviews and revisions of our education system, improve health and sanitation, promote and strengthen gender equality, and provide for youth reorientations and empowerment through training of all kinds, the creation of jobs, and the expansion of sports. As Nelson Mandela once said, and I quote, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." The improvement of our education system is and shall remain a constant and major priority during my administration. For example, I made a promise that my government will absorb the wise fee for all 12 graders, and I remain committed to that promise. My government has already started to disburse these fees by committing an initial amount of $200,000 United States dollars in consultation with my predecessor. Thank you, Madam. Pillar 2, economy and jobs. We will introduce new legislations and policy which will be intended to achieve sustainable economic growth, develop and expand agriculture, and address our very large infrastructure deficit with particular emphasis on road construction, and the provision of affordable and adequate electricity for all our people. Pillar 3, sustaining the peace. Under this pillar, we shall examine ways to improve the judicial system to ensure that the basic rights of all Liberians are protected. To that end, we will propose legislation that will be intended to create new processes and avenues to ensure that all our people are fully reconciled. In terms of security and defense, we rely on our budgetary support to enable us to continue to improve the professional and operational development of the armed forces of Liberia and other security agencies in order to better prepare them to participate in the fight against global terrorism. In this regard, we will especially focus on the housing constraint faced by our security personnel. Pillar 4, governance and transparency. We will request you to draft a legislation that will focus on the decentralization of institutions and systems of governance, review and build upon the current code of conduct in order to increase accountability of public officials and reduce the incidence of corruption. In an effort to make government more efficient, we submit to you a draft legislation to restructure the cabinet of the executive branch to make our ministry more effective in addressing the specific requirements of our various sectors. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, what I have just presented to you is a broad and general indication of our legislative program. However, and more specifically, I would like to inform you that my immediate strategy for reducing poverty, increasing youth empowerment through job creation and training, and improving the productivity of our economy is to embark upon a comprehensive road and highway construction program that will link all counties' capital with all-weather paved primary roads. They will be built to the highest international standard. And linked to pave secondary farm to market road that will enhance agriculture, trade, and tourism in Liberia. Particular priority will be given to a coastal highway that will run from Buchanan to Harper. We eventually end the complete isolation of the southeastern region, Liberia. A condition that have existed since the formation of this country. There is a medium-term project we will take several years to complete, but it is the intention of my government to prioritize the planning and raising of funding for this important development goal, which has been estimated to cost approximately $3 billion United States dollars. This is going to be very challenging, but I'm convinced that with the assistance of my friendly governments and institutions, this can be achieved before the end of my tenure. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to address you on what I consider to be my most urgent and imperative agenda. since the founding of this country in 1847, more than 170 years ago. There have been certain restrictions on citizenship and property ownership that, in my view, have become serious impediment to the development and progress of the country. This restriction includes the limitation of citizens only to be black people, the limitation of property ownership exclusively to citizens, and the non-alliance of dual citizenship. The framework of the 1847 Constitution may have every reason and justification to include these restrictions in that historic document in their own words, and I quote, "The great object of forming these colonies being to provide home for the dispersed and oppressed children of Africa, and to regenerate and enlighten this benected continent. None but persons of color shall be admitted to citizenship in this republic." Unquote. They are free slaves for fleeing from the oppressive yoke of slavery imposed upon them by white slave owners. They therefore wanted Liberia to be a refuge and a haven for free men of color. And so they restricted citizenship only to black people. This may have been appropriate for the 19th century and for the threats and conditions that existed at that time. However, here in the 21st century, I am of the view that these threats no longer exist, and that these conditions have changed. In these circumstances, it is my view that keeping such a clause in our Constitution is unnecessary, racist, and inappropriate for the place that Liberia occupies today in the Community of Nations. It also contradicts the very definition of Liberia, which is derived from the Latin word liber, meaning liberty. I believe that we should have nothing to fear from people of any other race becoming citizens of Liberia. Once they conform to the requirements of our immigration and naturalization laws, they may be appropriately amended to address this new situation. In fact, we have everything to gain if we look in our region amongst the other member states of ECOWAS, especially our neighbors in La Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana. It will soon be observed that permitting people of other races to become citizens has not marginalized their indigenous. I believe that this is an anomaly that should not have found its way into the 1986 Constitution, Chapter 4, Article 27. I therefore strongly recommend and propose respectfully that consideration should be given to removing it by appropriate measures provided for in our laws for amending the Constitution, Chapter 12. Restriction of land owners exclusively to citizens. The second provision in our Constitution, which stands today to impede our progress and stall our growth and development in the restriction of land ownership only to Liberian citizens. Article 22A. No foreign investor, in fact, not any investor, will be willing to make significant direct investment in our country if they cannot own property in fee simple. Furthermore, direct investment placed on leased property are virtually unbankable because most banks are reluctant to accept leasehold as collateral for loans to persons and business entities for projects that could be very well enhance our development and create jobs for our people. It is inconsistent with my pronouncement that Liberia is open for business, while at the same time denying those who will heed our call and come to Liberia to invest when they are prevented from owning property because of their lack of Liberian citizenship. Liberian citizens are free to purchase property in any other country, and non-citizens, yet our constitution and laws would not allow similar privilege to be accorded to citizens of other nations. I therefore strongly recommend that this restriction be removed and that the appropriate rules and regulations of the Land Commission and other relevant agencies be amended and strengthened to accommodate this new development if approved by referendum. Dual citizenship. The third matter of concern to me is the restriction placed in our constitution on Liberians holding dual citizenship. I believe that most Liberians who are also citizens of another country probably acquire the additional nationality as a means to escape from the terrible atrocity which characterize our civil conflict and for economic survival in their new countries of residence. If as a condition precedent for another country to grant citizenship to these persons, they have to disavow their loyalty to Liberia and pledge allegiance to the laws of another country, then it could have been out of necessity rather than a matter of the heart. And if conditions now exist in Liberia that make them want to return home and contribute a quota to the development of our common patrimony, then I do not think that it is fair to treat them as non-citizens in their own land of birth. Many Liberians in the diaspora have heard my clear call to return home and bring their energies, skills, talent, and expertise and join us in the building of a new Liberia. We need them. And so long as they were born in this country, they were Liberian first. And I believe that they should be welcomed back home with open arms. Whether or not they are required to renounce their adopted nationalities should be a matter of their conscience and the laws which govern their naturalization in their respective domicile. They should be free to make those choices and decisions. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, we are all aware that the Constitutional Review Committee was recently established during the previous administration to review these issues. Among others, the report was presented to the executive, who then duly forwarded it to you for your consideration, and to the best of my knowledge, it is still tabled and waiting your actions. Our people spoke. Our people spoke. However, some of the provisions that were agreed upon are not, in my view, in the interest of the future peace and sustainable economic growth of our nation. If we must build a new Liberia that will unite us all and open our doors to investors, then I will respectfully request, ladies and gentlemen, that you revisit the work of the commissions in light of new and existing realities in the best interest of our people and our nation. Honorable members of the 54th Legislature, with the assessment that I gave you earlier on the poor condition of our economy, I believe that it is appropriate that we should all make sacrifices in the interest of our country, Mama Liberia, according to Article 60 of the Constitution. The salaries of the President and the Vice President are established by the legislature and cannot be increased or reduced during period for which they are elected. However, in view of the very rapidly deteriorating situation of the economy, I am informing you today with immediate effect that I will reduce my salary and benefit by 25% and give Thank you. By 25% and give the proceeds back to the consolidated fund for allocation and appropriation as they see fit. In the meantime, I will urge you, honorable ladies and gentlemen, to follow my lead in the interest of our constituents. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. In the meantime, I will urge you, honorable ladies and gentlemen, to follow my lead in the interest of our constituents. And so, in closing, honorable ladies and gentlemen of the 54th Legislature, let us all remember that we were elected to serve the Liberian people and not to be masters of them. Let us all strive to practice servant leadership, whereby all that we do inside and outside these chambers as elected leader shall be for the benefit of the Liberian people, by whose mandate we have been given this responsibility to lead them and this opportunity to serve them. Let us all exert our best effort to ensure that in the cause of the people, let the struggle end. I thank you.
Well, basically, when you listen to the president, he what you call, he have exemplified open government, and in his opinion, he taking into consideration barrier that he think need to be addressed, barrier that he think that need to be addressed. Talking about giving ownership to the people, and you have also provided opportunity. But those of the people who people never thought that they would have another opportunity, he has set the bar that look, once you are a Liberian and you have the expertise, you have an opportunity under this government. Now one of the cardinal sensitive issues in our country, I always wonder about dual citizenship. And you also emphasize on that there's no need, but fear itself. Once we give our opponent an opportunity, those things that existed in the past, those things, you have to clearly see they don't exist anymore. I think when those barriers are given an opportunity, our country can bump into prosperity.
For a couple of years, you've been heading the young people of the Coalition for Democratic Change, and now you have just gone to the, you have just been designated as the new mayor of Monrovia. So how are you going to incorporate them?
Well, wonderful, and let me say we've been very much appreciative to the president, and he's keeping true to his word, and he even tried to emphasize some of the pillars of our institution, and we say power to the people. We think the people must not just be mere voters. After those people who labor along you and vote for you, must be given an opportunity to the minister and govern alongside with you. But in the past, he tried to deviate from such a culture. As you can see, we mean a true representation of the ordinary people who, once opportunity is given, they will. For us personally, all we can say to you, we tell the Liberian people, give her a chance and see what will come out of us in the next couple of months.
Okay, Jeff Koji is the mayor designated of the city of Monrovia. You've been talking to us. Okay, we also want to be talking to some of the lawmakers here. We got caught up with Representative C.B. Bashar. He's represent Montserrat County Electoral District 3. Welcome to this interview, sir.
What a great pleasure. I'm so honored.
What do you make of the State of the Nation address delivered by His Excellency President George Weah?
I think it was marvelous. It draws the fact his ability and wish to move this country forward, and I think I look forward to working with the honorable president.
Oh, he just called on the legislature to see reason to amend some of the laws he referred to as being archaic. Those laws that can no longer reflect the present day reality in Liberia. Are you going to be one of those who are going to help to amend some of the laws?
Yeah, I'm going to buttress the president's effort that is in line with the Constitution, and just of course in line with promoting Liberia's interests. And anything that counts with promoting Liberia's interests, I will work along. But don't forget now, when the president mentioned that he wants to take 25% of salary deduction, and I think he's saying in a good faith. But don't forget now, we want it to be a holistic thing. Ministers and everybody should be reducing their salary, and we want to follow suit. I want to follow suit.
Are you going to follow suit?
Yeah, of course, I'll be grateful.
You're going to slash 25%?
Well, that would be a great thing to do.
We are proudly in opposition. We tend to remain in opposition constructively, but from a position of a national leader, I think it was a good start. Talking about the state of the economy, which is a sad information, and also the president recognizing that he cannot do it on his own. He counts on the participation and involvement of the national legislature. We are humble at this point in time to be a member of this august body. All that was a very good start, talking about the economy, talking about agriculture, talking about the citizenship, which is a very critical national issue, talking about road construction, talking about youth employment. As a member now, as a co-chairman on the Committee on Youth and Sports, that is of an interest for me. I think it's a very good start, and we are willing to work on all of the different areas to make sure that Liberian people receive nothing less than the best that they have voted for us for.
All right, thank you. That's the voice of Lofa County Representative Karen Scottu Massacoy, and he's just been re-elected for the second time. We also have another re-elected lawmaker from Margibi County in presence of Honorable Ben Fofana. Welcome to this lobby, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, you are also from the largest opposition bloc, the Unity Party. And today you heard what the President of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency President George Weah has said about this nation. What is the intriguing aspect of this message?
you.
The message that I heard today, believe me, was amazing. And all that was said came from nationalistic standpoint. And that also reminds me about what he was saying during the campaign period and also during the inauguration, that this government is a pro-government. All the policies that he talked about, the agenda he talked about today, if they are enacted into legislation or law or policy or whatever form they are for implementation and implemented, the situation for the people of Liberia will turn for the better in terms of alleviating property.
The president just prayed the legislature to see reason to change or to amend some of the laws which he referred to as now realistic to the present reality. Are you going to be one of those lawmakers that are going to help in that endeavor?
It's not that we're helping that endeavor, but those are policy prescriptions that were outlined by the president. They will now be reduced into a program implementation, a level or basis, for onward submission to the legislature for enactment. And when they do come here, we'll look at them to ensure that they are in better perspective for the benefit of the people. One that is achieved or that's happening, of course, we'll make sure that we help the president to achieve those policies that he has in mind.
All right, thank you. That's Margibi County Representative Ben Fofana. We also have one of the newest on the block, he's Councillor Kani Wesso of my own native county, Bapulu. And Wesso, you listened to a very intriguing speech delivered by His Excellency President George Manneh Weah today. What aspect of that message you think is gravitated towards helping the people of Bapulu County?
Well, first he talked about three key things I picked up. One was the reconciliation of our people. You need to really reconcile the Liberian people to be able to see the reason that we belong to one nation and one people. The second thing he talks about was the issue of property ownership by everyone beyond just being black, Negro descent. He wants the citizenship of other nationalities to be introduced into our own society and accepted. I'm a lawyer, and I think that issue is going to be brought to the floor. The issue would be, work upon. It got to be a referendum. We got to go to the villages. We cannot make decisions on behalf of our people without our people being known about it. We got to go from village to village, hold town hall meetings, and explain the legality and the non-legality of the need for a non-Negro citizen to become citizen of Liberia. And those things are going to be the issues that we'll be debating here.
Prior to the entry into this house, you are one of those who have rendered the dismal living condition of the people in your native Bapulu County. And now that you've come, and the president is talking about taking development to not only Monrovia but to rural communities. What specifically are you going to do besides just sitting into session and maybe deliberating? What are you going to do in that direction?
Well, the president has spoken about opening up the country by roads. I'm going to be number one in front of the president's message to make sure that we push that into the hinterland and to make sure that we convince our friends and our colleagues in the legislature that roads go to all over the country, not only to the southeast as he did mention, but it should go across the nation, and that through road connectivity in our country, the development that we showed desired will come.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
It's Bapulu County.
And I'm on my way. I'll be going to my home soon to go and tell my people thank you.
All right, it's a pleasure.
I know they are yearning for me to go now.
All right.
Thank you.
We have one of the newest on the block as well from is it Roger Grand Group?
From
Sino County. And it's Honorable Nangwes Law. What do you make of the speech today?
Well, for a politician, that was a nice speech. How the people in Zozo, in Kolahun, and Bogondre will receive the message of allowing foreigners to own their land, I don't know for now. Maybe it will settle down later. But
so does that suggest that you have a dissenting view when it comes to the issue of land tenure?
I will not support it.
Really?
No, I will not. Not today. Even if I stay in the house for the next 20 years, I will not support it.
According to what the president said, this law is not realistic.
Okay.
it cannot be applicable to the president of Liberia.
At the same time, it's not realistic for me to go tell the people in Bokongre to allow Lebanese people to buy land in their place.
Yeah, but are you also aware
as soon as the president...
Liberian language law will go to America and other places and own land in those places and live there very comfortably?
But that's their decision. You go to Zaza and tell the people to sell their land to foreigner? Go try.
That is discrimination?
My land?
Against another race?
But it's my land.
Yeah, it's your land.
For my refusal to sell it to you, that discrimination?
Yeah, but you see, like the president said, it is no longer applicable to present day Liberia because there are people who want to invest in this country, and because of these laws, they are only investing on the surface.
Chief, anybody can want to sell their land. I can tell you that the people of my district will not allow this thing.
So are you going to run a campaign in your county?
Yes, I will.
They will not sell this land?
Yes, I will.
So you're going
I will
to go on
campaign
record
against it on the House floor.
Is it because you are from the opposition?
No. My papa's land. Have you ever listened to that song?
Yeah, I listened.
I'm not selling it to anybody. As soon as the president can bring his land ownership deed from Lebanon and from India, I will allow Indians and Lebanese to buy land in Bokongre.
So you're not going to give it to them?
I will not. I will campaign against...
It's undeveloped.
It has nothing to do with opposition. I will campaign against it.
So this is LNTV. We're currently with one of the senators, Senator Marshall Dennis from Grand Jada County. Good afternoon. Welcome, Senator, to this interview.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
You sat there for more than an hour and you listened to the President, His Excellency George Weah, giving his State of the Nation address. What's your impression, first of all?
And I think everything Liberia needs is what he has analyzed today. It was good that those relevant sections and articles of the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia were read by him, because it is based on those articles and sections of the Constitution that he is going to be operating as a president. And it was necessary for us to know where his mandate comes from, you know, to lead the way he's going to be leading.
There are a few things. Let's start first of all with his immediate mandate of slashing his salary by 25% and calling on you lawmakers to follow his lead.
That was very good. That was very good of him. He has already told us the state of the economy. He told us what it looks like. And so where we can start by contributing towards, you know, the revitalization of the economy itself by doing just what he said. But remember, this is the mandate of the Liberian legislature. And that's why before the 54th session, joint legislature, that he's making that appeal. So we now will go in our chambers and see how we can do that. Because the budget will have to be recast. In the process of that, perhaps we can take the decision of slashing, you know, this remuneration by the 25% that he has spoken about.
Dual citizenship, opening up land ownership to anyone and everyone for investment in the country. What's your take?
Those are all good steps. I think by this time, just as it's 18th, 19th, 20th century, okay, but for now, let's look at the reality. Other countries, because they open their citizenship to other nationals and to other races. Actually, we have been so racist. Our economy has been, our constitution has been so racist. Those clauses that you talk about, I think they need to be revisited so that the development that we have yearned for in this country can come. Somebody will put into something that they own, not something that temporarily they are using and later on they're going to be turning over.
My name is William K. Banyas. I'm from Rana Street. And I'm from Bonkane, especially my course.
Tell us what resonates with you the most after listening to the President's speech.
Really, there's one that really touched my heart this afternoon, that which says about salary reduction, where he put 25% out of his salary, that he said that there will be no more struggle. So from the past, he gave it a historical from 1940, that he's talking about, of this state. I feel happy today. Even I'm drinking the salt drink, I felt good. I know there will be something better in this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. What's your name again?
My name is William Danya.
We're actually speaking with lots of those who have come to attend this ceremony. Gentlemen, how you doing? How you doing? Can you guys come to share with us some of your opinion? How are you, Robert?
I'm good, sir.
What's your name, sir, please?
I'm Robert W. Seaton.
Rabbas, tell us, did you listen to the president's message and what resonates with you the most from the message?
Yeah, the president, I listened to him. His message was very clear, very short, but very precise.
What is the single most thing that is touching you?
Yeah, the issue that he has to be very blunt about development, especially when he talk about the coastal rule. You know, the coastal rule has been something in plan that all of us wish to have happened, and for him to see that to be a necessity, I think is paramount to our development.
I'm Uranium Wiki from Stella Maris. I just came to be part of this ceremony that is going on.
So you are a university student. Yeah. What touched you the most as you listen to the president's speech?
Oh, when it comes to the road infrastructure, because I'm a practicing engineer. So it really touched me a lot.
What's about the roads?
Right now in Liberia, our roads network is very, very bad. And from the president's speech, I know he's going to do more when it comes to the road network that will lead us to federal counties and international roads to take off from country to country. Because our road system is very bad in Liberia. To get from Monrovia to reach Osando, sometimes it takes you 2 days. And with the president's speech, I know he's really going to work hard to make sure that Liberia get a very road network in Africa.
Well, my name is Tokle, we said, former representative Kennedy for River G District 2, a very formidable Kennedy.
Now, you listen to the president's speech. Tell us what resonates with you most.
Well, I listened to the president annual message delivered today. I'm so impressed. The reason some of all you saw we struggle, we wanted to leave the executive mansion to come to Capitol building is to make sure to help the president so that we can pass law that will benefit our people. I listened to the president talking about the road on the coastal line from here to Harper to Grand Crew. There are some of the things that we really wanted to see it happen. So I can even see the appointment made by the president-elect. That telling you government inclusion and young generation. Yeah.
So it's a good start.
No, that's a good footing from the president.
So Liberians are now having mixed feelings, particularly enthusiastic ones, after the annual message of President George Weah. Lots of issues have been taken into account. Many are quite enthusiastic. They're happy about the president's decision to cut off his salaries. Others are a little bit skeptical as to whether that is constitutional and can happen. But the president is actually curious and serious about making sure his salary is cut, just to ensure that it's part of austerity measures to help revive the nation's economy. The issue about dual citizenship and opening the access of land rights to non-Liberian citizens are very key issues that may spark the debate on for the next couple of years. But the president has been very keen and very open as to what he wants to do. If not very blunt and very, very straight to the point. This is Arthur Douglas. Thanks for watching the LNTV special feature.
Weah.